Pay me, pay me, pay me my silver now. Pay me or go to jail. Pay me my silver now.
Road to Ruta.com. Lots of exciting things going on in silver. I posted on the private road for Road to Ruta private road members a discussion, an article I'd written. I've revamped everything. It's called "Here's Why $150,000 an ounce silver is a conservative estimate." Does that sound funny? Oh, it sounds hysterical. But when you go through, I have 20 items that I actually did it before. You can find this on the public road, but I didn't break down what it was. The 20 reasons to buy and sell physical silver. And this takes a step away from the traditional supply and demand bullshit, the traditional silver as money. We know all that. We know the lies. We know that the Silver Institute, Metals Focus, CPM Group all lie about their numbers. We know that the commercial banks have massive short positions that they control. They control 100% of the trading on the COMEX. We know that Virtu Financial is the high-frequency trading company run by Vinny Viola, who orchestrates it all for the banking cabal and the U.S. Treasury and the Exchange Stabilization Fund. We know all that. All that should be obvious to everybody. What we don't know is the ramifications of unwinding all the criminal activity. For example, the number one reason I am waiting to sell I want to sell my silver. Don't get me wrong. I want to sell my silver at a fair market value price, a true fair market value price. When silver hits fair market value, I will probably sell some of it, most of it. Then looking for another asset to invest in that's undervalued. And there's a lot out there. But I'm not going to sell it until the rig job ends, the coercion ends, the understanding of what silver ends in the eye of that your normal investor. They don't know all this stuff. So I listed 20 things in this article. Number one is the removal of the gigantic short position on the COMEX silver market as reported in the CFTC and bank participation reports. We've been talking about this forever. Ted Butler he spent a whole 4 decades showing the regulators exactly what was going on. But he knew in at some part that the regulators were in on the con. But what he did is he taught everybody else, hey, this is a con. It's not free trading. It's not, hey, I have an ounce of silver and I have a few U.S. dollars. Here's the exchange price of silver. No, it is not. You can tell by the volumes. You can tell by all this stuff. Anyway, so I listed a while ago 20 things that would have to happen for me to sell my silver, a.k.a. buy it now and then sell it when these things are fixed. And there was 20 reasons. So on the private road, I took those 20 reasons and I outlined how would this affect price. Each one of the 20 things, how would it affect the price when it ends? And just the first one, you can take the first one, and it's the removal of that gigantic short position on the COMEX. What would the effect be on the price of silver to take the COMEX top four? I just talked about the top four silver riggers and remove them and take them out of the equation and not let that kind of concentration ever happen again. What would be the effect on the price? And I go down through all 20 and I said, what would be the effect on the price here? Well, there's your conclusion. Why $150,000 per ounce of silver is a conservative estimate. That's after the rigging ends. And by the way, the COMEX won't even be open after the rigging ends. That's the only reason to have the futures and options exchange is to control price. But that is coming to an end, and it is silver that could take it down. I think it's a big part of what Trump is freaking out about and letting the bad guys do what they want to do is that Trump's afraid that, for example, taking out JP Morgan, the largest silver rigger on the planet. You take out JP Morgan, you take out every bank on the planet, and yeah, that would freak Trump out because his whole base, the people who support him, are the kings of the fiat system. I think that's why he's freaking out and not doing the things he should do right now. Although Tulsi Gabbard has been cut loose. And Trump is actually talking about the fact that Obama and staff, President of the United States and his staff, were the ones who created and ran with the Russian hoax. It wasn't necessarily, Clinton was involved, but it was easy to spot the criminality in what Hillary Clinton did as a candidate, but it was the cover-up and then the continued support by the Obama administration, President Obama leading that discussion. That's treason, my friends. And there's 100 other reasons that Obama and friends, the deep state, should be tried for treason. It's about time Obama got taken down and taken out. I mean, the list is very long of the things he could be tried for treason for. And it's not like nitpicky stuff. This is the real stuff. Some of you know about the hot dog party he threw at the White House. And it's just the insanity of what has gone on. It's kind of behind our backs, but it's not really behind our backs. Anyway, so that's what has to break down, that entire global system break down so that we can find out what a true price of everything is. Wouldn't it be amazing if we had free markets in the United States and around the world again? And the only way to get from here to there, here being 100% controlled, there being 100% free markets, is to destroy the old mechanisms that made it happen. And that's how we get to $150,000 an ounce silver. Now, that doesn't mean you're not paying, $500 for a loaf of bread. Or, who knows? Maybe there's no solar panels left on the planet. Probably the solar industry would disappear until they figure out a better way to make a solar panel. As a matter of fact, most of the solar panels will be ripped out for the silver. At $158,000 an ounce, there's going to be a lot of silver recycling, which is great. The reality of, should we use that way to make energy, or should we use all these hidden ways to make energy that the United States has hidden, our patent office has hidden so much for the last 100 years. It's insane. I mean, you could take the the hydrogen, the H out of the H2O, and burn the hydrogen, and you leave oxygen. And the magnetic engines, obviously they work. Obviously we haven't touched them, but there's the high-tech stuff too. And all that has been held back from humanity, and it's a huge problem because now it forces us to build these massive coal-burning plants and nuclear plants and you name it. There is a solution, and it is cheap and pretty much free. Tesla was working on it. Why can't we? He did it back then in the early 1900s. Why can't we do it now? We can. It's just that we've been under control of the system. And that's what's breaking down. So go check that out. Here's why $150,000 an ounce silver is a conservative estimate by Bix Weir. It's an article. Yes, I used to just write articles, not do all this YouTube stuff. I remember when I changed from just doing my blog to pretty much just doing YouTube. I had a couple old-timers. I'm an old-timer, but a couple old-timers like, I want to read. I want to read this stuff. I said, turn on the caption, the closed caption on the video. You can read it. They didn't like it. So I lost a couple private road subscribers when I switched over to video, but we got, a lot more, and we've reached a larger audience. YouTube won't allow me to talk about a lot of this stuff, so I glance at it and barely touch it, but I've had 3. I haven't had 3 strikes yet. I've had 2. I've basically shut down the channel when I got 2 a couple times. But that's the criminality's ending on that front too. And I want to be still on YouTube when the big change happens. Like, the big change happened for Twitter. Obviously, it went from deep state control to Elon and friends control. And you can say what you want about Elon. I think Elon's brilliant, but there's a lot of things. Like, what happens to Elon's companies when there's $150,000 silver? Well, there'll be probably no more electric cars. They use a lot of silver. Nobody really knows how much silver. Jeff Christian and friends will tell you, at 1.8 ounces per car. That's bullshit. Some are saying 30 ounces and more. And then a couple ounces in every regular car. The insanity of where we are in the silver market should not be underestimated, and that's why I did this article. When all these things that were put in place to control the price of silver are removed, that's when silver's cut free from the jackasses. And this would probably be 10 to 1 silver to gold ratio. Silver would be 10 times the dollar amount of gold, because there's a lot of gold out there. And I've showed it to you. Read Sterling and Peggy Seagrave's book. They detail it. I'm not going to spend my whole life doing it like they did. And they wrote a big old book with all these, a CD with all these, like 4 CDs with all this facts and information, Supreme Court testimony, all the documentation needed. And they were looking at between 300 to 500,000 tons that were just part of Yamashita's gold. That was published and nobody believed it, even though nobody really read it in GATA, nobody read the book, nobody looked at the evidence. It was so sad. I was like, what are you people doing? You can't just because someone says, oh my God, there's 300,000 tons of gold buried in the Philippines that they've been pulling out. And GATA immediately said, no, there can only be 220,000 tons ever mined. And my GATA friends, not just Bill and Chris. Bill was really open about it. Chris, not so open about it. But the other guys were like adamant. Bix, you've lost it. You've lost your credibility by saying this. They never read the book. They never read any of the books written on it. They've never seen any of the evidence because they don't care. They block their mind to that kind of stuff. Maybe there is 2 million tons of gold in the world and not 200,000 tons of the gold. And then there's Chocolate Mountain, California, and very well documented. Talked about it a lot in the early 1990s, and then it disappeared. But the GATA folks won't look at that either. And they won't look at, my work in the Grand Canyon. Yes, there was a mini gold rush within the Grand Canyon. There were billions and billions of ounces found in placer gold within the banks of the Colorado River. It's still there, my friends. The problem back then was they set the price of gold at $20. So that was like the cost of mining back then. So it didn't make sense to pull it out. Everything is relative. And remember, back in the early 1900s, gold, there was only about total 300 million ounces that had ever been found. And the U.S. had about 120 million ounces. And that's like, holy crap. What would that do to the entire structure of government, of the rich versus the poor, if you're finding billions and billions and billions of ounces of gold in the Grand Canyon? Lock it up, Woodrow Wilson, which is what he did. Locked up the Grand Canyon, and then subsequently they locked up everything north of the Grand Canyon, south of the Grand Canyon, the Hoover Dam, who knows what that's hiding, and all these Native American sites. You're not allowed to go into. Do you know you're only allowed to go into one cave in the Grand Canyon. One cave out of the estimated 3,000 caves. Oh no, it's too dangerous for you. Yeah, because you might find something that you can't explain. Gold, mummies, Egyptian artifact, not Egyptian. The Egyptians that we know of didn't build those pyramids. We can't do it today. How'd they do it, 3,000, 4,000 years ago? And they aren't 3,000, 4,000. They're 15,000, 20,000, 30,000 years old. And the Grand Canyon, that's up even older. And literally, there are pyramids within the Grand Canyon. If you look at them, they kind of look like old destroyed pyramids, because that's what they are. And check out the names of them as well, and why you're not allowed to go there. We should be hiking the floor of the Grand Canyon every day, discovering all these amazing things to be discovered, but you're not allowed to do that. It would be hard. It has to be a certain time of year. It gets like 120 degrees at the bottom of the canyon on really hot days. That's crazy. But a lot of places you can't go. I have a very close associate who's been there, who's seen the military bases in the Grand Canyon, seen them pulling out the Egyptian styles that were all around the Grand Canyon. And there was massive amounts of gold. He didn't see any gold, but he was literally with his father. And when he was a kid, going down the Grand Canyon, his father worked for the intelligence agencies, and they're going down this one tributary, and it's like, holy crap, all these people with machine guns came out of the woodwork. pulled him over, brought him to the military base. He doesn't know what the commander said to his dad, but he'd never seen his dad as scared as when he got out of that meeting. This is all within the Grand Canyon. It all makes sense. We've done remote viewings of the Grand Canyon. There's other remote viewings of the Grand Canyon that had been done that I'd found. They're saying the same thing. And we've monetized a lot of it. The 1956 plane crash over the most sacred spot of the Native Americans, Sapapapoo, the confluence of the Colorado and the Little Colorado, was that plane crash. Supposedly huge jetliners that took off from the same airport down near LA. Same airport, one after the other. One's going to Chicago, one's going to Kansas City, and they just happened to crash in midair over that exact spot. Kincaid's Cave is absolutely real. It's covered up now, and most of the artifacts are moved from the remote viewing that we've done, which makes sense. They've been in there. We've been in there for a very long time. And there's a past human history that we have absolutely been shut out of. So when it comes down to the mundane thing, like the price of silver being rigged, it's pretty easy to do, because if you let it go, other information might leak out. Like, you might actually know our past. I think that's coming. Graham Hancock has done amazing work exposing all kinds of things that the educators of the world will not let you know. Screw them. It's time to go out on our own and do our own investigation, which we are, and that's why we're looking at silver, saying, oh my God, I got 20 things right here. When these change, and they aren't supply-demand issues, well, some of it is, but it's more, what's going to happen? What's going to happen if Apple Computer can't get the kind of silver, physical silver, to make their products? What's going to happen when all the solar manufacturers overnight can't make solar panels with silver? We'll figure out a different way to make them. Kind of the good thing is, because the Silver Institute and CPM and Metals Focus have been lowballing the amount of silver going into solar panels, it doesn't matter if the solar industry stops using silver anymore, because according to those guys, they only use 200,000 or 200 million tons a year. Sorry, 200 million ounces a year, which is like less than half of what they actually use. But when that reverses because the price gets so high, they're going to say, well, oops, we screwed up, because it's really 500 million that's not going to be used in solar panels, not the 200 we've been telling you for years. There's all kinds of things need to be unwound. So go check that out on the private road at roadtoroota.com. You want to know how to get on that and get all that information, click on subscribe today. And currently we're giving away 500 T-Fuel. This is the future. Cryptos are the future. Who knows what, during the transition, who knows what they're going to be worth? Who knows what silver will be worth? You know, you take out Epstein, you take out JP Morgan Chase and all the bankers, and you take out those too big to fail bankers, poof, everything's gone. So there won't be any exchanges open. We won't matter. That's why you have to have your silver in your own possession. Say it with me. I have to have my silver in my own possession. Even if you have the best people holding it for you. The best, these are the salt of the earth people. It's not going to matter. The guards they hire to protect that silver will be the first. They're not going. There's no more fiat money. They're not going to sit there and protect your silver. They're going to try to get it out and protect their own families. That's the kind of mentality you have to go moving forward. You have to use that. That's why Trump is like, I can't bust the Epstein people, because that takes down the entire system, the whole unbacked fiat monetary system. I'm saying you have to do it. We have to take down that old system, because they control that system. How many trillions of dollars did Obama and Biden and friends print before they left office? Hundreds of trillions. It was infinity money. Elon found the 14 computers, and all of a sudden, everything went haywire. Why is that? Because the whole unbacked fiat monetary system is a fraud. We got to get physical silver in your own possession. You got to get the good cryptos in your own possession. I'd say the number one crypto to own, if you're just buying right now, is Theta Fuel. But that's for the future. That's for AI. That's for universal basic income. All that stuff is going to happen. We're going to need universal basic income with AI. Otherwise, how is 99% of the planet going to feed themselves type of thing? And everything will be different. So, yeah, I'm not a fan of universal basic income, but at the same time, I'm not a fan of 99% of the population not having avenues, not having anything to do. To survive, yeah, you can get AI to help you through that. But to fulfill your heart and your soul's mission here on the planet, who knows? Everything's changing, my friends. Anyway, let's take a quick look at silver. Still going strong, $39.50. This is the biggest since 2011. Bravo, silver. You keep chugging along. I'm not afraid of it going down to minus $40 like they did with oil. I'm not afraid of $1 million an ounce silver. Obviously, I had it just posted an article trying to justify. It does justify over $150,000 per ounce silver. That should be that. If you take away the manipulation, you take away the con, and all of a sudden manufacturers wake up to the fact, oh my God, there's not a lot of silver at $50. There's not a lot of silver at $100. There's not a lot of silver at $1,000 or $10,000. Where am I going to get all the silver? Our lives change. And oh, by the way, every short on the planet would be destroyed, and the comics will just shut down. They'll call it a force majeure, and it won't open again. Which is great. That's a derivative market. It's kind of like this new stable coins. All the crypto people, oh yay, stable coins. You're cheering on another derivative to support the U.S. dollar. It's insane. The whole thing is insane. All it will do is make the crash 500 times bigger with all the stable coins and CBDCs. And the end game has to come for us to move forward. We can't move forward. I argued with Bitcoin Ben about this forever. We can't move forward in parallel paths because you don't fix the old problem. The old problem is massive amounts of debt, unsustainable debt. The only way to get rid of that, you can't inflate your way out of it. That adds more debt. You can't add more and more derivatives, more and more cons on the owners of U.S. dollars, mainly the U.S. citizens, just to keep the game going. That's why Trump is so pro-crypto. He sees what that could do. We've lost China. We've lost Russia. We've lost a lot of entities aren't buying U.S. dollars anymore. In the 70s, what did they do? They set up the petrodollar. They forced every country on the planet to buy oil in U.S. dollars. Artificial support. Then that died in the 1990s, and it just went to derivative trading, which is really easy to rig. So all the dollars were supported by the foreign exchange derivatives. And now that's starting to fail. What's next? Trump's like, oh, we'll do CBDCs and not even a CBDC, a stable coin. All these U.S. dollars artificially going to stable coins. There's nothing stable about cryptos, my friends. And you crypto people know it. We've been looking at Tether for a zillion years saying, oh my God, when that implodes, it's going to take down so many cryptos. Imagine if there's 100 tethers. The size of the implosion will just be bigger and bigger. Pull the damn Band-Aid, Trump. Pull it. It's time to start fresh. Anyway, silver should hit $40 by probably next week. Maybe even this week. Be exciting. Make the news. Blah, blah, blah. Yes, it is different this time than 2011. It's massively different. The biggest difference is that the physical market is on fire. No matter what the retail buyers is going on, retail is a very small part of the physical. I mean, you look at exchange for physical, the EFPs that are going from the COMEX to London for delivery, it's over 1 billion ounces every year. The retail is very small, but it's powerful at the end when everybody completely runs out of silver. It's going to be, your little tiny purchase of 1 ounce of silver is going to make it, it's going to move the price if there's not much silver out there. So, yeah, I'm not worried about the retail side. I think you've kind of been lulled. The whole, the silver investing community has been lulled into not buying silver. It's not going up fast. And we've been there before type of thing. So when it gets over 50 and starts going fast, you, your brother, your sister, your neighbor are all going to run in to your local coin shop and try to buy silver. You'll be calling Andy Scheckman. Oh my God, silver broke over 50. What's the cap now? If 50 is the floor, what's the top? Holy crap, I gotta get as much physical as possible. Don't wait for that. It's coming. And it's only $10 away. 11. Remember, the all-time high in silver was $50 in 1980 and $50 in 2011. Both of them were rigged to some degree. In 2011, I pointed this out while it was happening. Bill Daley, Obama's chief of staff, who worked for Jamie Dimon, who took over the Bear Stearns short, ran the price of silver from $20 to $50, slammed the price of silver down on the Great Silver Slam, and then left office 1 year later, back when silver went back to $20. 100% rig job. The Hunt brothers, similar, but not exactly the same. And that was like 100 million ounces of physical and 100 million ounces of contracts that the Hunt brothers were dealing with. J.P. Morgan, in their criminality from 2008 to 2016, took 1.2 billion ounces of silver off the market and then leased it to Bank of America, who subleased it to a whole bunch of people who got to pay it back now. And that's why you see all kinds of physical silver being paid back. How long will it last? I don't know. I don't think it'll get past this year. So the next big delivery month is September. And when I say big, the only reason it won't be over 100 million ounces is because they just don't have the silver. So we'll find out. Lots of exciting things going on. As I showed you guys, this is this week's, the Commitment of Traders reporting data ended yesterday. This is this week's what happened to silver. So the entire week ended yesterday. This is the reporting data for the CFTC that we get every Friday. It shows it went up from 37 to 39.50. The reality is 99% of the times the banks short into the rise. They short, and then they dump a bunch and try to cover after everybody panics. The slow, steady rise means the weak hands aren't really getting in. Get physical silver. Go to your local coin shop. Get your physical silver in your own possession. You don't have to worry about the implosion. Well, you got to worry about different things, but get it in your own possession. If you don't have a local guy that you trust, contact Andy Scheckman at Miles Franklin. I've worked with him for 20 years now. Send him an email, info at Miles Franklin, MILESFRANKLIN.com, and say, I need to get physical silver, buy what he's got in inventory. Send me an inventory list and pricing, and then they'll take care of you. Otherwise, just go to your local coin shop. That's probably the person you're going to be selling your silver dimes to anyway to buy your next car. So we've had 2 weeks in a row prior to this week that the commitment that silver has risen, and the Commitment of Traders report shows the commercials aren't shorting into the rise. This will be an interesting one because it is the entire week it rose. So we're going to have to check on Friday. Private road members, I usually post something on Friday night or Saturday analyzing the Commitment of Traders report. Keep an eye on that. Again, we've had 2 weeks in a row where the price of silver went up and the big commercials did not short into the rise. As a matter of fact, the first week, they went long and closed out shorts. Last week, it just about even. This week will be very telling. Because the week before, it had a big spike and you could do all kinds of things during the week. We have to keep track of what these people are doing because they control the price. If you care about price, all you have to do is watch the Commitment of Traders. All you have to do is watch the volume of open interest. Like right now, as I said, Jenny Moonstone nailed this one. At the beginning of the month, she says, it's going to be a weird July because, and she's doing all her card reading. She didn't know. She's like, I'm sensing or getting that they don't have the physical silver, but they're going to have to do it by the end of the month. And that's exactly what we saw. The first delivery day, we saw 35 million ounces stood for delivery, and we're going to end up over 50 million ounces. So 15 million ounces during the month had to be delivered. And she said that goes on for next month as well, and then something big is happening in September. And you can see that discussion at the private road as well, on roadtoroot.com. But yeah, we're still getting 59 deliveries. That's what, 300,000 ounces of silver. It's like every day, the bleeding. Metal, physical metal is the game. When they run out of physical metal, now might look at the warehouses. The SLV has 530 million ounces in the warehouse. Comex warehouses have 500 million ounces. LBMA, all that. They're just double counting silver. That should be the obvious to everybody. That 530 million ounces in SLV is controlled by who? JP Morgan. And what is JP Morgan has half of all the Comex silver in their own vault. It's a huge con. When you think about the largest silver rigger on the planet has the job of holding the largest ETF silver, and that's done by BlackRock, who's also a massive player in silver manipulation. Evie Hambro runs that program. I hope this all makes sense. And it all is so confusing and so crazy. And the ramifications of unwinding all the criminality, that's where you get the $150,000 ounce silver. Go check out the article. Private Road, road.com. All right, here we go. As you can tell right here, this was the first day of deliveries, 25 million ounces, but they had open interest of about 10, which got us to 35 million ounces. And look, every day, there's huge deliveries, and it's still going. I mean, we're near almost, like there's only 5 days left. And we are right at, I think, 49.8 million ounces. They'll go over 50 million ounces if you include the micro contracts, which is, by the way, the micro contracts is the biggest in a very long time, maybe ever. Micro silver contracts are 1,000-ounce bars. There's 1,000-ounce contracts. And 3.6 million have been delivered on those, which is the largest this year. I think that might be the largest ever. And that's what bumped us from 46 point something to 49.9. And so tomorrow's deliveries will break the 50 million ounce delivery month for July. And again, the beginning of the month, we only thought it was 35, half of what we expected. Next month should be, it's not a delivery month, but I think a lot of people have to prepare for delivery in September, which is and will probably be the biggest delivery month in history. It's also the end of the fiscal year for the United States of America. And on that note, there does seem to be finally some action on taking out the deep state. Tulsi Gabbard has all the goods on the Biden administration. They've burned all the documents. They've gotten rid of as much as they can. But, yeah, I am hopeful that this continues because clearly they had to drop the ball on Epstein. I think Trump had to do a deal to keep the financial system going. But he said, I'm going to take out these bastards, the deep state Obama Clinton crowd. And that's the deep state pedo crowd, too. So lots going on right now. And this Cliff High's data has it going crazy for the rest of the year. And this is clearly nothing in the United States has ever seen before. You've never seen. Usually you just give old presidents a pass when they retire. Not this time. The Biden clan, the Obama clan, who's pulling the strings of the Biden clan, they're going to go down. And they're going to go down for treason. And they should. So, very crazy times. Anyway, that's what I got for you. Again, we're giving away 500 Theta Fuel tokens. Theta Fuel is about the future of AI, the future of streaming, the future of sharing broadband, sharing your hard drive, sharing your computational power. If we go to war with Taiwan, they're not going to be making any chips anymore for a while, at least the majority of them, because they're all made there. No, we don't go to war with Taiwan. If China takes over Taiwan, I don't think it'll be a war even. I think China will just walk in. There's no way that Taiwan can stop them. There's no way that we could stop them either. We're not going to get into a global thermonuclear war over a territory and a place that China has had control of for a while and should have control. It's like, it's like someone coming after Cuba, putting up a base there. We didn't like it. Kennedy didn't like it, so we fought them off. Chinese are doing the same thing. There's no reason the United States should be there. So that's what I got for you. This is Bix Weir. Crazy days. I'll be chatting with Jenny tomorrow. I'm sure we'll get some really exciting stuff about what's going on with the whole. We're going to get deep into the Obama and the pedo movement and all that. We get down and dirty on those. So go check out roadtoruder.com and subscribe today. This is Bix. I'll talk to you later.